Let's make this super cute honeycomb beanie that has a peekaboo effect whenever it's stretched on your head. How cute is this? I'm going to start by casting on like normal. We're going to go in front of the first pin, sink that down, and then we're going to go behind the second, in front of the next, behind the second, in front of the next, behind, in front, behind, front, behind, front, behind. You guys should know how to cast on by now, right? And now I'm just gonna knit up 5 regular rows. So we're just knitting, 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 and then we will get to the fun part of the pattern. I'm gonna take my yarn out of the yarn guide, and this is where we do the figure 8 pattern. So we're gonna go behind 2 pins, in front of those 2 pins, loop back around. We're gonna go behind the first and in front of the second, like a figure 8. I'll show you that again. Behind 2, in front of 2, behind number 1, in front of number 2. Behind 1 and 2, in front of 1 and 2, behind 1, in front of 2. And I'm just going to keep doing that for one whole row. So I will meet you guys back at the end of this row. We're coming to the end of that row now, and now I'm going to put my yarn back in the yarn guide, and I'm going to knit 1 row. You might want to do this slowly to make sure that each one of those pins do catch the yarn, and that way you don't have any dropped or tucked stitches. I'll meet you guys back at the end of the row. We're coming up on the end of this row. Now what we're going to do, before we started on pin 1, we're going to go ahead and sink that down. Now we're going to start on pin 2. We're going to do the same figure 8 pattern where we're going behind 2 pins, in front of the 2 pins, behind pin number 1, and in front of pin number 2. But this row, we're starting on pin 2, whereas the first row of the pattern, we started on pin 1. So this is going to be a 4-row repeat pattern. On your first row, you're going to start on pin 1, do your figure 8 pattern. Second row, it's a knit row. Your third row, we're going to start on pin 2 and do the figure 8 pattern. Your fourth row, you're going to do a knit row. Then you're going to repeat that until you get to 40 rows. I will meet you guys back whenever we've reached row 40 of this repeat pattern. And silly me forgot to hit record. So once we are done with the 40 row repeat, we are just going to knit up regular rows until we reach row 55. I know my counter says 56. I went an extra row. It's okay. It's not going to hurt the pattern at all. It's still going to come out beautiful. After you have finished knitting your 55 rows, you can choose to switch colors for that peekaboo effect. Here, I'm just adding in black and I'm just doing my normal color change. Now at this point in time, I am going to tie those off using a surgeon's knot, but I'm not going to complete that knot until my project is off of the machine. This is my preferred method of doing color changes to where it's really that jogless join. We are going to continue knitting until we have reached row 90. At row 90, I'm going to go ahead and cut a long tail. I'm going to feed the yarn through my darning needle, and then I'm going to begin the casting off process. Now with the casting off process, you're just going to pick up those stitches individually. I like to pick up all of my stitches pretty close to the yarn guide. I do pick up multiple stitches at once, but if you're a beginner, I recommend only picking up 1 stitch and then pulling it through, so that way you don't risk dropping any stitches. At this point, my hat is off of the machine. I'm going to take it and turn it inside out, give it a good stretch. Now I'm going to complete that knot. I'm going to give it a little tug. I'm just going to tie it tight, and then I'm going to cut off the tails of the yarn. You won't see this in the finished product because they're so small and they will be hidden between the layers. Now I'm going to double the hat in half just like you usually do. I'm going to cinch the inside, then I'm going to cinch the outside, tie them together, and hide my ends. I prefer to do this with a latch hook, but a darning needle or a crochet hook works just the same. I just really like the latch hook method. I'm going to pull those tails through. I'm going to kind of tug on them just a little bit. I'm going to snip them and they will go right back inside and you won't see them when it's done. And this is the finished product. It is super cute. It's a cute little honeycomb peekaboo effect. This is one without a folded brim. You can do a little bit extra rows if you want a folded brim and it's still gonna look absolutely gorgeous. You can add a palm on this and a tag and brand it for your own brand. And this is how we do the honeycomb beanie. I hope you guys like this tutorial.